Good evening and welcome to the March 18th meeting of the City of West Sacramento City Council. We'll begin tonight, as we always do, with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll ask Councilmember Christoph to please lead us tonight. United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Should note that the City Council did not meet in closed session today, so we're right into our regular agenda. Before we get started, I'll ask if anybody in the public would like to speak on any matters before the council, on any agenda item. That will ask you to please fill out the yellow card and present it to the city clerk. So she'll hand it to me and I'll read those out in order. We don't have too many items tonight, but if anybody does want to speak, please do so. Also try to get those to city clerk prior to the completion of the staff presentation. Our first item tonight is 1A, presentations on the public on matters not in the agenda but within the jurisdiction of the council. By law, we're not allowed to act or to discuss any items that come up, deliberate any items that come up on this part, but we do listen. This is the public's time. So our one ask to speak is Mr. Lowell, Bill Lowell.
Checking, yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. William Lowell, West Sacramento, for the record. I saw the headlines on the Sacramento Bee, but I understand that we already have rules in place, so we don't have to change our watering schedule like mine's like Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So I understand there will be no change in like my situation, and I'm just thinking if the water situation gets worse, I think we're going to have to one day take the conversion of seawater more seriously if they can if they want to develop more property and so forth, but also make up for the loss of water that's been happening. And I saw this thing on, it says name your own tip for helping less leaky water and save water waste and so forth. And I was just thinking, when I go to take a shower, first I get myself nice and wet, including my face, and then I turn off the water, then I'll wash with soap my head and so forth, and then I'll turn on the water and rinse that off, and I'll wash my body and my lower legs and rinse that off, and then I wash my rear end and so forth, and then rinse that off, and then finally I wash my feet and rinse those off. But in the meantime, I don't have the water going continuously, and so I figure I save a lot of water that way. So other people might consider doing that also. And finally, those new apartments going in over on West Capitol between 3rd and 5th, I think the sidewalk is going to be wide enough on the front on West Capitol Avenue, but on 3rd and 5th Streets, those sidewalks seemed awful narrow, especially when you consider people in scooters and wheelchairs and so forth like that. If nothing else, I think we're going to have to add some turnout space there, because otherwise you're not going to have room for people to go in both directions. People with special needs, including shopping carts. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks for the tips on the water and concern about that. We have no other requests to speak, so we'll move on to item 1B, which is council communications. Any council members have to report out? Mr. Johannesson?
Yeah, thank you. The West Sacramento Housing Development Corporation met on February 26. We received a Delta Lane project update, including a discussion about alternatives to funding phase 2. We looked at a potential new project for the agency. We are locating, it looks like, maybe 4 units for the Bridge to Housing to help place homeless folks. That came out of that program. That hasn't happened yet, though. And then we also re-upped our executive director's contract, which is Paul Caloric. That's it.
Thank you. Ms. Sandin?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Ledesma. I neglected, and I apologize, to report out from the last Sacramento Yellow Port District Commission and the Board of Directors of the Sacramento Yellow Port Financing Corporation at our last meeting, which was on March 4th, before the last council meeting. At that meeting, we received grant funding from the California State Parks Division of Boating and Waterways for derelict vessel abatement, and we approved a contract with Global Diving and Salvage to handle that project. We also authorize the port CEO to finalize business terms and prepare all necessary documents for property exchange with the State of California Department of Water Resources. And that was on March 4th. Let's see. On March 9th, the Water Resources Association of Yolo County met. I think the biggest item for that is we approved a request for statement of qualifications for facilitation and strategic planning services to facilitate the development of an implementation plan for the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act of 2014 within Yolo County. And so that has gone out, the RFQ, and that will be presented back to the WRA at a later time. We also did hear a legislative priorities update from the executive director of the Regional Water Authority as well. I also attended, as an alternate, the Regional Water Authority meeting on March the 12th, and we actually passed a resolution regarding a response to dry conditions in 2015 and supported a continuation of 20% water reduction since the drought started. So it's a continuation of the activities, or the resolution that agency passed last year, that authority passed last year. We also heard a water efficiency program update, and to Mr. Lowell's comment about water reduction, that we as a city have already put in place measures, but we received a preview of the State Water Board meeting, which actually was yesterday. So our meeting was before that, but there would anticipation of new emergency regulations that would be put into place for public and commercial reasons. And we also heard about a toolkit that's being developed for agencies to help with regional consistency with regard to water conservation. And I know that we use those tools, and I think we appreciate the work of the Regional Water Authority. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill, you're good? Okay, thank you. I have a couple things to report on, meetings to report out on. Excuse me. On March 9th was the meeting of the Yolo County Transportation District, and there were a few items on there of note. One was regarding a project, an update from a project that's being led by our former colleague, Mike Lucan, regarding low-income and senior fare reduction trial project, which is they're looking at areas in Yolo County that could benefit from lower possible from a reduction in fares in some of those areas that might get some funding. They were looking at even an area in West Sacramento, so they're doing some work on there that could help bus riders in our area. Another area that we're keeping an eye on is the yellow bus service that is coming out of downtown Sacramento because of construction around the arena area. This continues to be an issue. So I know some of us have friends or colleagues or neighbors that maybe take the bus in and out, especially during peak times, and they've seen a significant slowdown of bus service coming out of downtown Sacramento, primarily the express services that go out to Davis and Woodland, and so they're doing some more research into that, but ridership has gone down as well, so they're beginning to. There's a little bit of worry at the district about the impact of the arena construction and also of gas prices. The ridership is dropping. So again, those are a couple of items that came up during the county transportation board meeting. And then on the, I'm sorry, there was a meeting on the 12th of the Successor Agency Oversight Board, but that I attended as a county representative, but one of those items will be on the agenda tonight that took action on. So other than that, I have nothing else. Anybody have any other items? So we'll move on to 1C, which then there's no council appointments or reappointments. So we'll move on to the consent agenda, items 2 through 12. And I'll ask the council if we have any comments, questions, if any items need to be pulled. Comments, questions, or we'll entertain a motion at this time.
I'll move consent.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? None. Consent agenda passes. Thank you. We'll move on to the regular agenda and item 13, which is consideration of consideration of resolution 15-12, creating the Pioneer Bluff Preferential Parking Permit Program area. And this is, Chris.
Good evening, Council, Mayor Pro Tem. Chris Doherty with the Public Works Department. This item before you is Resolution 15-12, creating the Pioneer Bluff Preferential Parking Program Area D. This item was presented to the Council on March 4th, 2 weeks ago, and was continued due to concerns that the boundary area was too large for the district, and that the city did not have the right to revoke the permits if it felt we had the opportunity to move forward with the transition of the area. Staff had adjusted the boundary of the permit to cover just the South River Road area. We also tightened up the resolution language in there as well to limit the program to South River Road. We also added that the finance director had the authority to revoke permits for reasons of public project or public safety, which gave us that ability within 60 days to move quickly if we saw an opportunity. Additionally, staff made a last-minute change today, reflected the memo you have in front of you, adding some clarifying language to the resolution. So these changes were sent out to the property owners in the area, and we received nothing but positive comments back. So this time, staff is recommending that council adopt the amended resolution in front of you in the memo 15-12. And I'm available for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions?
Thank you for all your work. Just one question was, I think we brought up last time the consistency with the overlay compared to other similar parking areas. So is it consistent with others?
It is
Consistent enough?
It is not as consistent as the others, but this is a very different use of this type of program anyway, where it's usually
Okay.
used for residential areas to buffer against a intensive use for on-street parking. This is more of a management measure to limit the amount of parking on the street.
And safety, okay, okay.
Thank you. Mr. Johannesson?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Yeah, I think this does address, I think, the concerns we expressed last time when we started having some of the, the lots that are more interior between South River Road and Jefferson. But as we also talked about last time, there's potentially cross streets here that are going to have to be incorporated at some point. So basically, this is a 2-year permit. So if we're looking at a transition to maybe expanding this area in the future, realistically, I guess if someone has a permit for 2 years, would we be able to disrupt that, or would we time it so we'd have those expire and have the new boundary brought to us?
We could add additional boundary conditions to this at any time through a council action. We can also revoke those permits with a 60 days notice at any time now with this new resolution. So we still have that flexibility with if we want to add the permit program to a new street that would exist that does not exist today.
All right, so it's flexible then to accommodate that.
I'm sorry?
It's flexible then to accommodate that future growth.
Sure. We have made several adjustments to our existing parking permit areas. Area B, for example, we extended to the Bridge District from the Washington area. It is feasible and would take less time than it would to construct a road.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Kristoff?
Yeah, Chris, I'd just like to thank you and staff for the work that you've done leading up to tonight. I know there's been a number of meetings, and the dialogue has gone back and forth between different issues as far as Buckeye goes, or as far as Mr. Cunha goes with Clark Trucking. So I'd just like to thank the effort that you made, because I think we finally got to the flexibility that is necessary and everything that goes on as far as personal property rights and city right-of-way rights. So I'd like to give you kudos for getting that straightened out.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chris, for bringing this back, and I agree with Mr. Kristoff. Thank you for the work you did with the property owners and sort of to address the core issue we had, which was around the safety on that right-of-way, along the main corridor there. We know we have work to do. Mr. Johannesson brought up work to do in the future, but this gets us to where we need to be for the next 2 years. So thanks for your work and kind of clarifying this issue. It got a little thorny on us for a minute there at the last session. I received no request to speak on this item, so we are now looking at if there's any other deliberation or any other questions. I'll entertain motion.
I will move the staff's recommended.
I'll second that.
We have I'm sorry, Chris, did you have a question?
I just wanted to make sure we adopted the amended resolution in the memo.
Thank you for the clarification. Okay, the motion now shows with the amendment. Thank you. So we have a motion and a second, including the amendment. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Thank you. That passes. Thank you again for your work on that. Moving on to item 14, which is consideration of Resolution 15-16 for exception to the 180-day wait period for hiring a retiree as a temporary extra help employee.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. So this matter's on the regular agenda because PERS requires that it be on the regular agenda. We have an employee who's taking a leave of absence from the fire department. We had a retired annuitant who had actually been gone for more than 6 months, who was going to take the position, and last minute decided she didn't want to come back. They're in need, obviously, of somebody right away and someone who knows city systems so they can actually just jump right in. My former office manager, Robin Sines, retired 4 months ago and is more than willing to come back, but she hasn't been gone 6 months, which PEPA requires unless you do a resolution waiving the 180-day period. So that's what we're asking for.
Thank you. Any questions of staff on this item? Seeing none, I think we are.
Mr. Mayor, I would propose this report seek approval of Resolution 15-16 to waive 180-day waiting period for hiring a retired annuitant.
Okay, we have a motion. Before we do that, I'll note that there's no request to speak on this item. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? So that motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to council calendar.
Mayor Pro Tem and Council, Carol Richardson's out today dealing with a family matter, but I just wanted to draw your attention on the April calendar. On April 6th is the Board and Commission orientation. Hopefully the council would be able to attend that. That's at 4 o'clock. And then there's some ethics training. But the beginning of that, the mayor will go over the philosophy of commissions and the role of staff and the role of commissioners as well. On April 15th on the calendar, Miracle Grow will have their a press event announcing their grant to the city and to the Center for Land-Based Learning, and that is at 11 o'clock on the 15th. And then also in April is the annual Cap-to-Cap trip where 3 of our council members will go April 18th through the 22nd.
Okay. Thank you. City manager report.
Nothing.
City attorney report. Staff direction from city council. Any direction? Seeing none. Any future agenda items? I received nothing in writing. Seeing none, I look for a motion to adjourn.
Second?
And with motion and second, all those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed? None. So thank you. The meeting is adjourned.